The port city was beautiful, even with the struggling conditions people lived under. Baked stone walls painted in a gentle brown color, stone paths and sewer systems. Not far into the city, she found the man she was looking for. Well-dressed, neatly combed hair and a strong, upright posture. He seemed to be heading somewhere. With him was a young man carrying a notebook and a small bag, taking notes as he walked, clearly taking notes of the city. She quickly went across the street and positioned herself. Just as he passed her, she spoke out loud, which caused him to stop. Taking over the city is no simple task. You are wise to gather information first. He slowly turned around and looked at her. A drop of sweat ran down his cheek. Before he could say anything, he was taken back by her beauty. The long black hair with sunlight glancing of it, the smooth pale skin and her tall, luscious body, easily visible through her long dress. He shook his head a little and cleared his throat. "Forgive me, miss, were you talking to me?" He was acting innocent. Little did he know she already had information on him. Sir Alex IV, a noble from the royal island. His eyebrow twitched as she pushed herself away from the wall. For you nobles to want to create your own little kingdoms after the royal family died. It really is the most predictable thing to expect from you guys. He faked a gentle smile. "Miss, forgive me. I am unsure of where you learned my name, but I have no idea what you are talking about." His hand slowly reached for a dagger on his belt as he tried to distract her with his innocent smile. "You may try and cut me down. You won't succeed, however." He froze, realizing she had him all figured out already. Suddenly, his tone changed. "So the mayor must be on to me already, sending a beautiful assassin after me. It won't go as easy as you think." Arya giggled a little. "Assassin, what a silly joke." She reached for his belt and pulled the dagger out. She looked at the blade as he nervously tried to stand his ground. "We already know you want to take over this city, Mr. Alex, but you still have a long way to go." Her eyes moved from the blade of the dagger over to his eyes. "You have no guards or knights. You have limited funds, and you are up against a tyrant with an underground bandit outpost at his calling." His eyes squinted a little. "It matters not, everything takes time." She returned his dagger to him with a warm smile. "Please join me for lunch. I believe you are misunderstanding my reason for being here." He had no choice but to go with her to a local inn. Once they had a fulfilling meal, she poured him another cup of wine. "I am here as a representative for my father. He is a powerful man who has decided to take this city for himself and expand his territory." Alex gasped a little and balled his fist. "I see, that means I'm the competition." She quickly covered her mouth like a proper lady and laughed a little. "Competition? No good, sir. You are merely a pebble in the road to him which he can kick aside without even noticing." Alex did not reply to that. He was trying to think. Many nobles escaped that nightmare, but who was powerful enough to take over a city and call a fellow noble a mere pebble? "And who, may I ask, is your father?" He started nomming a few nobles to try and figure out who it was, but none got a reaction out of her. "My father is not some familiar noble that thrived in fame. He is the lord of his own territory and the new king of humanity." Alex gulped down the wine in one sip. He placed the cup down and sat back in the chair. "True king. Every noble is going around calling themselves that. But without the royal blood willingly passing that power on to someone, the people will never accept that." Arya smiled and leaned closer, filling his cup once more. "Why are you so interested in this city anyway? Planning to make yourself a paradise? A harem, perhaps? What drives you to such a suicidal goal?" Alex looked at the flame dancing on the candle on the table. He let out a heavy sigh. "Our little world is a sick place. With the royal family gone, instead of tyrants leading the world once more, Perhaps it is time we have builders instead to path a way to the future. Arya placed her cup down. And you believe you are that builder? He shook his head. I am merely a coward who had a reality check. After we fled the royal island, I saw what life was like out here. We nobles and the royal family should be ashamed of ourselves. That is why I am planning on taking over this city. So I can look for another way instead of throwing around my title to get what I want. Arya just looked at him. She placed a few silver coins on the table and stood up. Alex snapped out of it and looked up at her. Very well, Sir Alex, I believe you need to meet my father. He stood up as well. Why would I possibly want that? She leaned her head slightly to the left. So you could have a place in the new world. Bold words, but Alex was no fool. He nodded and agreed to meet her father, this powerful man she mentioned. In town near the town center, Sally stood with her jaw half open. A big building with a long hallway and 8 rooms for patients. Each room split in 2 by a hanging curtain. Each room with a table and wash basin with shelves. An office near the front, and a lab at the far back for her studies and experiments. Rickard stood one side with 4 young ladies. These ladies are eager to want to learn patient care. They are employed under the town's budget just like you. He took a step closer to the door, looking down the hallway. This is your facility. I call it a hospital, which pretty much means a healthcare institution. I also have a budget set aside for you to study and increase your knowledge. He held out a scroll to her with her new title and contract. I have high hopes and expectations of you, Doc. This is a chance for you to become a key member in something much bigger than you realize. She was shocked at how much he offered her. This was much bigger than what she had dreamed of. She let out a sigh. Damn, you are one dangerous man. This feels like the biggest bribe ever, and your sweet words, which was stupid, by the way. The ladies got nervous hearing her speak to him like that, but he smiled. What can I say? I get what I want even if I must be shrewd about it. She looked back at him. Fine, I accept your offer, but I will not worship you and all that crap, nor am I interested in visiting your private quarters for favors. He nodded. Good, then it is settled. Get yourself set up and let me know when you are ready to open. Our town's secretary will visit you soon as well to get to know you a little. Try not to suspect her of stupid stuff as well. She has done a lot for the people around here. Rickard left the hospital to meet up with Roxy at the inn where she was having a meal. He sat down seeing she was already 2 pints down. She pointed the knife at him, seemingly annoyed. So, you are going to fuck up that organization in that city anyway. I thought I was clear that we need that place. Her tone was uncalled for. She was clearly forgetting that he was not her partner or some noble she could push over, but he preferred her this way. He smiled and pulled a bottle of the good stuff from his coat. He opened it and poured into her empty mug. I am merely going to remove a problem from his seat. He placed the bottle near her and sat back. You are a bandit lord now, right? Why not stop acting like a brat and take control of that place? With you at the helm of that underground organization, we both benefit. She stopped chewing and glared at him. He was calm, not a single shred of fear in his eyes. She sighed and placed the knife down. How the hell am I supposed to be everywhere at once? Delegate, he suddenly said. You appoint someone to be in charge there, under your command, that reports to only you. Example, Maya, my town's secretary. Lydia, my town's head of security. They report to no one but me. Lydia, head of security, takes care of the security of the town. It is her responsibility, which means each and every person in this town is under her protection. Maya runs my town for me. I don't have to run around like a madman trying to do everything myself. She is the middleman between me and the people. Roxy looked down at her plate. Sound great and all, but we're bandits. Betrayal is expected. He nodded. Exactly, just as you said. It is expected. So make sure you crush anyone that plans to betray you before they can do it. When we first met, you were fearless, and your men respected you because they knew if they stepped out of line, you would crush them. Acting like the title of Lord is suddenly changing you is bullshit. Just be yourself, usual self, and not someone you need to pretend to be. She gulped down the strong alcohol in the mug and slammed it down. Crap, I hate how right you are. Fine, we will take over that place and I will make it. I actually welcome anyone who wants to betray me. I miss ripping someone's limbs off to make a point. He lifted his hands in a surrender posture. Bandits are your territory. It has nothing to do with me what you do to them. Far away in a different town, a man sat at his table with his wife in the kitchen and 2 daughters learning to crochet. In his hand, a letter of hope. Information gathered from passing merchants. Life in town went on as normal with the citizens, knowing little of what was going on. In the lounge just outside Ricard's office they all sat, Ricard on the single sofa overlooking them all as the head. Next to him on the left, Ren sat with her notebook. On his right, Arya with her eyes closed, patiently waiting. On the other side of a long coffee table, Alex, the noble, sat on a single sofa, as well, with one of his own assistants. Alex was nervous. He had just given his speech to attempt and convince this man why he wanted the city. Unlike Arya, this man's daughter, he showed no reaction. There was just something about this lord of this small town that he could not put his finger on, an overwhelming feeling resting on his heart. Finally, Ricard lifted his head after giving it all some thought. So let me see if I understand this. Suddenly, a noble who knows nothing of suffering your whole life wants to take over a city and give the people a chance for a better life. Alex felt a chill run down his spine, but his status of nobility felt pointless before this man, so he remained quiet where he would normally argue his point. Ricard folded his hands together and looked at him, not a single notion of fear in his eyes for nobility. It is not merely about taking over and giving people a better life. It is about the people wanting to stay once you have taken over. Trust is a funny thing. It cannot be bent or ripped in two. It is a single thing with 2 sides, black or white. Either you trust or you use it as a tool to manipulate. Once that trust is broken or forced, it is no longer yours. Right now, as I see it, you nobles are not trusted. Alex was surprised about what he just said. He glanced over to Arya, who just sat there listening. She had a talk with him on the road to meet this man. She warned him that her father had a mind like a trap. He saw things no one else could. Patterns of life, she called it. Ricard continued. For a long time, nobles have lived a life many envied. You had the best. Good food, good homes, good security, good women and slaves to use for yourself like tools. The average normal person had to work hard to put food on the table. If they failed, they would end up being a slave to suffer under another. Then suddenly, nobles were forced to live where they had worked hard to survive. And many nobles now want to take over town and cities to create their own little empires. Do you honestly think you are worth trusting? You cannot simply call yourself a leader and people will follow you with smiles. Your hands are not rough like theirs from hard work. Your back does not ache and your muscles hurting from a day of hard work in the sun. Ricard's eyes narrowed, sharpening his piercing gaze. Simply throwing coins over the crowd does not make them wealthy. It merely causes them to fight each other to see who can pick up the most. Alex felt his hands suddenly shaking. Not even the king had such an overpowering presence. His words had so much weight that he started to doubt himself. Everything he said was true, and he knew it. He had seen it, how the nobles lived and treated the lesser folk. The words repeating in his head. You cannot simply throw coins over a crowd and say they are wealthy. They will simply fight each other to see who can pick up the most. That was exactly what the nobles had done for a long time. Rickard stood up. He brushed his hands over his shirt. Alex, I am willing to bet everything I have that you would not know where you are if you saw this town before I took over. This is only the start of what I am capable of. He reached over and lowered Wren's collar, revealing her scars. Could any of you nobles say a slave would still want to serve you after you freed them? Alex was shocked to see her scars. She was a slave, clearly. Rickard let out a little sigh. Take some time and rest. Feel free to explore our town. I am sure you will find a lot to see. I must prepare to take over a city. Alex looked down at the table as Rickard walked out of the room. A sinking feeling rested in his heart. Himself and all the other nobles had it all wrong. Later he left the mansion feeling defeated. His goals were crushed. He stopped on the side of the road just outside the mansion, looking over the town. It was amazing, seeing how clean and busy it was. So many businesses in such a small town. He walked down into the town and just looked around. Arya sat down on her favorite sofa in his office. Poor guy had a reality check. You sure it was okay to simply let him go like that? Normally, you would give a visitor with status better treatment. Rickard sipped his drink and smiled. I gave him a test. Let's see if he can pass it. I don't think all nobles are brainwashed. After all, Maya seems to be doing well and she was royalty. The next day, Alex sat on a bench just outside the inn where he spent the night. He had no idea where to go from there or what to do. Taking over that city was impossible, and those words still sat with him. He looked at the people going about their lives, children running, adults working or on their way somewhere. It was like they were not affected at all by the loss of the royal island. Suddenly, he heard some commotion not far from him. Everyone seemed happy, and children were running to see a young lady. His heart nearly stopped and his breath left his chest. They heard that the royal family were all murdered, but there she was, the princess. He suddenly stood up, but Arya stepped in front of him, stopping him in his tracks. The princess. He caught his breath to calm himself. I mean. Arya nodded. Sit with me for a moment. They sat down, but his eyes were locked on the young lady. Rickard walked into town also. The crowd gathered. Everyone seemed so happy. One of the young boys pointed his small wooden toy sword at him. Rickard threw his hands up in the air. Wait, I am unarmed at the moment. That's not fair. Everyone laughed. The boys smirked. Very well. It is pointless to beat you when you have no weapon. Our duel will have to wait. Rickard's arms fell, his shoulders heavy, like he was given a second chance in life. Maya smiled. Why are you out here? Something happened. He laughed a little. Just stretching my legs a little, and I heard there are fresh dried and salted meat available today. An older lady laughed and stepped out of the crowd. That is right, my lord, spiced and carefully cured and dried. Our hunters did great this time. Alex was confused. To see people so happy in these hard times. When people gathered for the king, everyone was nervous. But looking at these people, everyone seemed genuinely happy to see them. Arya looked at them also. My father gave her a chance to a new life after being hunted by the nobles. She now goes by the name Maya and is the secretary of this town, answering only to him. The people love her as she has done so much for the town already. A real genius when it comes to working with the people, and she has such a good heart as well. Alex had a heavy guilty feeling in his chest. He knew about the nobles' plans on why they wanted the princess. He remembered how she lived like a caged bird to serve as a tool for marriage, and he remembered who her future husband was. His head lowered. She has grown much since the last time I saw her. She is a beautiful young lady now. The nobles would go to war for her hand in marriage now. Arya nodded in agreement. That is correct, but there is one thing the nobles will not get. The royal power she had in the political world is gone. He looked up at her, confused. She willingly offered her crown over to my father with witnesses and under contract. Right now, she is a normal young lady living a normal life. His eyes widened. Wait, if that is true, then, does that mean Lord Rickard is? Arya nodded again. That is correct, and she is under his protection just like everyone else in this town. He looked down at his shaking hands. Then there is hope after all. The other nobles will stand against this, but this could be the chance for us to change everything. Arya looked at him. His expression had changed. He had that strong focus once more. She smiled and sat back. It was just as her father said. He was different from the other nobles. Days later, news arrived with traveling merchants that the city, Port Vista, was attacked by an armored man. Rickard listened as they talked. A single man in heavy armor stood his ground against all the knights of the city. They said he had a shield too thick and heavy for a normal man to wield. They could not move him or overpower him at all, as it seemed like he had an unending pool of stamina. The city was quickly thrown into panic. Residents hid in their homes as the battle affected most of the city. Another merchant nodded along. After several hours of struggle, the armored man just turned and left, leaving them with a few words of warning. The knights were no match for him, and within 2 days, he would attack again. The entire city was on lockdown. Maya just held her hands folded together. She was sitting with Lydia, who was just as quiet. A few days ago, Rickard asked to meet with them both. Behind the mansion in the forest, he revealed to them one of his weapons. It looked just like a man, but he made it clear that it was no living thing. It had no soul, no heartbeat, and not even a brain. It was merely a tool, same as a sword in the hands of a knight. He even allowed Lydia, with all her newfound strength, to test her mettle against it. With no weapon or armor, it overpowered her. They didn't understand it well. He explained that the weapon was fully in his control. Just like how easily he moved his own body, he had control over this weapon. It may be silly, but he named it strength. None of them laughed at the name, as Lydia had first-hand experience at just how strong it was. Lydia had never even heard of such a thing apart from a situation many years ago. A dark mage used forbidden knowledge to raise the dead and controlled them. Rickard assured her that this thing was no undead. It never was alive. It was handcrafted from raw materials. He also revealed something else to them, his identity from 500 years ago. Maya did not fully understand it, but Lydia had been feeling nervous ever since. The Knights of the Royal City had a vault of information gathered throughout the years. Part of that knowledge was old scrolls of a time when the Alphas ruled the world under the guidance of the goddess. There was mention of someone they described as the Dark Lord who showed up out of nowhere telling tales to confuse people. It said this Dark Lord even nearly killed the strongest of all the Alphas at that time, Drak the Dragon Alpha. But there were still a lot of unknowns about that subject. They only knew the Dark Lord was sealed away by the goddess to never return. 2 days later, Port Vista was under heavy security. Knights and bandits joined together from the underground center, each of them ready to hunt and kill this armored man who dared to threaten their rule. But by that afternoon, nothing had happened. The mysterious armored man never showed up. One of the captains of the knights returned to the mayor to report. No one knew what to do. Should they accept that the man would not return? Or was he waiting for his chance, since there were a lot more of them to fight against? But just as he walked into his office, he froze. A cold chill ran down his spine. There before him on a chair the mayor was, dead. Standing by the window, a mysterious woman, long black hair and pale skin. Her red eyes seemed to glow with the setting sun. Sitting behind the mayor's desk on his chair sat a man he had never seen before. He seemed like a noble by the way he dressed. The captain drew his sword. Two other knights came upstairs as well and saw what happened. One of them turned around and ran back downstairs to go report to the other captains. The captain stepped forward, but his legs gave out. He looked down in shock. A small black spider crawled out of his armor. The woman turned to him and stepped forward with a smile. "Fear not, Mr. Knight. You have only lost the use of your legs temporarily." The knight warned the others what happened. They quickly readied themselves to battle. Some of the bandits saw this was all a trick. They quickly retreated into dark corners and hidden doors. They had to secure the underground center, but it was too late. Roxy the bandit lord sat on the corpse of the leader of this underground organization, her huge sword in her hand with a big grin, her own men around her, and most of the high-ranking bandits slain. Roxy hated how well this all went. Rickard was starting to scare her more each time he did something new. By morning it was all done. Alex stood on the podium as the people gathered. The knights had all thrown down their weapons and given up. His voice strong and clear. He made himself known as the new mayor. He gave everyone a chance. Stay and be part of something bigger or leave. Words he had taken from Rickard. Arya stood in the office of the previous mayor looking out the window at him. He played his role well. She was excited to report to her father that the plan was a success. Some of the knights complained that they used cheap tricks and called them cowards for hiding behind that armored man. Alex lowered his hands. He looked at the crowd and started to explain what his plan was. He explained that he wanted to take over this city for a long time already. He just never had the funds or manpower to do so. Then after that strange man attacked, he went to him and offered him all his wealth he managed to bring with him from the royal island. In return, he asked the man to leave the city alone. The people looked at each other. For a noble to give up his wealth for the sake of others was unheard of. Not even their previous mayor would do it. He saw their confusion and leaned on it just as Rickard had said. He held his hands out again to calm everyone. He asked them for a chance. "Give me but this opportunity to reveal to you a life you have not experienced. A life where you do not have to fear stepping out of your own home. A life where you can bring home food to your family and see your children prosper into a better future." His golden tongue quickly started to earn the people's trust, and Arya was witness to it all. Under the city, Roxy was making herself known as well, only in a much more violent way. Bodies scattered at her feet, her sword covered in blood. She challenged anyone who was against her rule. She allowed them to step into a ring and fight her. If they won, they could become the new leader of this organization. Many tried and all were cut down. She was as ruthless as the rumors said, thrived of her bloodlust. The bandits had no choice but to accept her as the new leader of this underground city. Back in town, Rickard smiled. He left his weapon hidden in the city for the meantime, until it was safe to return it. Everything went according to plan. The distraction was perfect. The guards from his own town went to protect the bandit cave, while Roxy marched all her men to take over that underground city. For a whole month, Arya stayed in Port Vista to secretly keep an eye on things. Alex was the only one who knew her true purpose for being there. To the outside, she was just a visiting noble. Many of the knights packed up their entire lives and left. They refused to serve the new mayor as they called it inhumane for how he took over. Murdering the previous mayor was not the right way. Alex accepted the weight of it. He knew what that mayor was really like. He lied and held up a false act, but behind closed doors he was more a bandit than anything. His new assistant sat in the corner by her new desk, with a connection through Arya with others. The ability to communicate over great distance, just like how Arya could communicate with her spiderlings. They were slaves on the verge of death. offered a chance at life again by allowing a spiderling egg to hatch and become part of them. Secretly, Rickard had been teaching them the requirements to fill their role. Alex served as the secretary or mayor as Rickard's subordinate. Every big decision he made was reported through his assistant. Rickard sat with his arms folded together. With that city under his rule as well, it was a chance to act on a plan he had thought about even before he was sealed. He wanted to build a road between the town and that city. Not just a clearing or worn-down path through the land, but an actual stone block road, made from the same blocks as the buildings. They had plenty of blocks stored up, the town's growth slowly expanding with new homes or business. But given the distance, those blocks would not be enough. They might have to expand that dungeon, and that meant remove the seal which kept the monsters in the dungeon depths. Once they could expand the dungeon, they could have a lot more jobs available as miners and mixers. More would flock to the town for work. Mining did not sound like good work. He made sure to look after them, however. They had a good health cover with their exceptional doctor. They got good pay and the work environment secure. The only thing that was demanding was physical labor. There was a knock on the door as he shuffled through his paperwork. Ren opened, and in walked Maya with a nervous man. Maya noticed all the papers and scrolls on his desk, probably been busy for 2 or 3 days like that. She showed the man to sit on one of the chairs as she took her seat in the other. Rickard seemed a little annoyed, which did not help the poor man's nerves. Maya smiled, however. "I know you find it hard to believe in blessings and such things, but I believe someone must have looked down on us." She looked at the nervous man and then back at him. "Another from the list. We didn't even have to go look for him." She nodded for him to introduce himself and take it from there. The man squeezed his hat tightly in his hands. "My name is Grun, my lord. I have traveled far to look for a place to settle down with my family. We heard much about this town, as impossible as it sounded. A place where there was a good future. But arriving here 2 days ago, I could hardly believe how wonderful this town is." Rickard sat back in his chair, folding his hands on his lap. "Good to meet you, Grun. We welcome those who wish for a better life for their families." Maya cleared her throat and smiled at Grun. "It's okay, tell him." He nodded nervously. "I was considered a master leather smith where I am from. I learned the trait from my father, just like how he did from his father before him. Turning hides into leather is a specialty of mine. I have not yet found a hide I could not turn into valuable leather yet." Rickard looked at Maya, who was proud of herself. He didn't really understand why she was proud. He opened the drawer under his desk and pulled out a scroll. He placed it on the desk and opened it. Notes filled the scroll from top to bottom with one word written at the top: leather. "Very well, Grun. Then go over a few things with me, just to test your knowledge a little if you don't mind." Grun nodded. Ren prepared her notebook and started writing as the interview started. An hour later, Bren burst into his office, heavy bags under his eyes due to the lack of sleep and a vial in his hand. He was skinny and a mess, but had a big stupid grin on his face. Rickard had just closed the scroll. His entire mood had changed. "Secretary Maya, please take our friend here into town and I will meet you there." Maya nodded her head. Grun still seemed nervous after the interview, not knowing what was coming next. Once they left, Bren apologized for the interruption. He held the vial up to him with a light blue liquid inside. It almost had a slight glow to it. "My lord, please allow me to present to you an offering as a thank you for giving me a chance to indulge myself in my research." Rickard took the vial from him. He held it up in the sun. No particles inside and a gentle blue glow. Bren stepped back, battling to fight against his excitement. "Vita Chroma, the purest form of healing potion, said to be a myth." Rickard nearly dropped the vial. He looked at him as he stood there with a big grin. "You've done it?" he asked him. Bren nodded proudly. "That vial is the only amount I managed to make. It was a chance I took with the last of my materials. It turns out there was a certain twist to the recipe to achieve it." Rickard held the vial up again as he listened. "I have already tested a little as well on a little mouse. It worked. Now I know exactly how to prepare and mix the ingredients, how long to boil it and let it set. I believe within the next full moon cycle, given I had the ingredients, we could start producing full vials once you give permission." Rickard nodded at him as he handed the vial to Ren to store away in his vault. "Very well, Bren. I will sign of the permission to start production as well as include a separate budget for the ingredients. But first I task you to rest. Go get a good meal and take a day or two off from work. I would rather have you sharp than running on reserves." Bren lowered his head in gesture. "Thank you, my lord. I shall make sure I am well rested before returning to work." Rickard looked out the window. It was all working out too well. This was reason enough for him to know this was where real work started.